Think staying at a Disney World resort is always the best option? Or maybe you believe off-site is the only way to save money? Well, get ready to have some of those assumptions challenged. The truth is, the on-property versus off-site debate is far more nuanced than just price and proximity. In this episode, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden perks, the unexpected drawbacks, and the crucial factors that will truly determine which type of accommodation will make or break your Walt Disney World experience. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Finding Your Disney. So glad you're tuning in, and we are going to be discussing in this episode on-property versus off-site for your Walt Disney World trip. And who better to have this discussion with than two of my Disney friends, Sandy and Roxanne.
Hey folks, how's it going?
Hello.
So as you know, planning a trip to Disney World involves a lot of exciting decisions. And one of the first big choices is that room, the accommodation. So whether it's a Disney-owned resort on property or another hotel, vacation rental, or timeshare, there's a lot to choose from. But this decision goes farther than just how close you'll be to the theme parks, or just the cost of your room. So how about we explore the real pros and cons of staying on site versus off site?
Lot to think about. Yeah.
Loads of little things that people probably never even fathom when they're staying off or on property. So I'm really excited to be discussing this topic with you guys. I will admit, I stay on property. That's my preference. I like to really be at Walt Disney World, staying at one of the Walt Disney World property hotels. The dynamic is a little bit different about Disneyland, and we'll get into that on another show as far as, the pros and cons for the off-property hotels, the good neighbor ones versus the on-property hotels at the Disneyland Resort out in California. But for this show, we're totally focusing in on the behemoth, right? We're focusing in on Walt Disney World. Yeah, that's the size of San Francisco. Did you know that, ladies?
Oh my gosh.
It's huge.
I believe it.
Massive property. And so there's lots and lots of pros and cons for staying on and off property. But yeah, I'll just lay it out there. We are on property people. How do you guys kind of like play into it?
Oh my gosh, the age-old question. We've done both over the years, and if I had my choice, I would definitely stay on property. But I can kind of talk to having experienced both over the years that we've been going for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a couple of off-site property stays, but for the most part, we are always on property. Definitely a lot more pros in our side than cons to do that. So, so as we were talking, we talk about the better value, and I'll put value in quotes here, for just the cost of a Disney World trip is not small. So you think you might be saving a little bit on the cost of the accommodation, but really, are you saving that much? Because there's those other fees, or just let's take transportation, getting to and from the parks. There's resort fees.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. People are often shocked when I tell them that if you're staying off property, that you should really plan on having 2 hours to get yourselves to the theme park. And they think I'm absolutely ridiculous. But by the time you get out of your room in the morning, right?
Yeah.
You make it downstairs to where the bus stop is. You look at the bus schedule. In between, one of the kids has to go to the bathroom. So you're off to the bathroom. Maybe you missed that first shuttle of the morning. And then you have to wait a half hour for the next one. That next one at the off-property hotels might be doing all of the different hotels that are in that chain, which is drastically different from the Disney ones. And we'll get into that in a little bit. And then you're stuck waiting for the next bus. And so once you're on that bus, then it kind of does what I call the milk run. So it does a stop at Animal Kingdom. It does, and people who are going to Animal Kingdom for the day get off. It does a stop at Hollywood Studios, and then the folks go to Hollywood Studios off the bus.
How
And
long
then
is
it
this
ends
going
up
to take?
it goes to Epcot, lets the people off at Epcot, and then
I
ends
have
up
no
at Magic
patience for that.
Kingdom
Can't
at the
stand
back of the parking lot, right? And then we know, because when you do, stay on property, you
Hoofing it.
tend to like, oh yeah, you're hopping into that either tram or you're hoofing it because you've got like the kids in the stroller. You don't want to have to fold up the stroller again once you've got it out. And you're then getting to the ticket and transportation center and deciding whether you want to take the ferry or if you want to take the monorail to get over to the front gate of Magic Kingdom. So there's, people are always shocked. If you want to be at Fantasyland, leave yourself 2 hours before you actually want to be
That
there.
Magic Kingdom parking lot is ginormous. If you don't write down or take a picture of where you're parked, you can easily lose your car.
Absolutely. And then not only that, but the schedules are set, right? So you'll have to be back to that spot at the back of the parking lot in order to catch your shuttle back to the resort at the end of the day.
If there even is a shuttle, Sandy, because I've stayed at like on property, off property, let's call it like a Marriott, right? Grand Vista or a Sheraton Vistana, which are humongous properties. You can get, a lot of deals.
Beautiful
through
properties.
timeshares. Yeah, and they're big, beautiful properties, but there are no shuttles. Like you are renting a car or you're Ubering, which is when you're stuck on I-4, you could be stuck on I-4 for an hour going 3 miles an hour, bumper to bumper at 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, because you're also competing with people going to work. So you don't realize the locals have to go to work. So they're trying to get into work for 8, 9 o'clock, and you're trying to get to 9 o'clock for Magic Kingdom opening. And you're stuck in I-4 traffic. It's not fun.
And that's the same with the shuttle bus too.
Yeah.
The shuttle bus, it leaves. It's not like when you're on property and you have 20 minutes till the next Magic Kingdom bus rolls around or to the
20
next
minutes,
Epcot,
10,
right?
15 at this point.
But I mean, you have multiple buses at that one resort going to one park.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're not
dedicated bus to each one of the theme parks. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And it tells you on the board when the next bus is coming, which I like, because years ago, 20 years ago, they didn't do that.
You just
stand there.
You can find that in the hotel section of the app now.
True. Yeah.
Yes.
When that bus is coming next. That's awesome. I love that now. Yeah.
But
So
if you're renting a car,
good.
But if you're renting a car, some of the off-site properties charge you parking.
Yep. Disney does not
so
charge
that's
overnight
another
parking
fee.
fees.
If you're staying on site, you can bring your car, you can still drive, but you don't have to pay that parking fee.
You're still stuck in the traffic though. And then when you do get to the theme parks, what do you have to pay for, ladies? Because you're not a non-property guest.
Another $30, I think, right? Is it
30 to 50, depending on what tier of parking that you choose to have for the day.
Yeah.
So it adds up. And then, when we're looking at the off-property resorts, you also have to take into consideration that they're going to, in most instances, have a resort fee, so an overnight resort fee that they're going to charge, and that can usually range anywhere from $25 all the way up to $50 a night, depending on where you're staying. So all things to it's a good idea to look for those hidden costs, because on property guests, even if you do end up with a car, you don't have to pay for parking overnight at your hotel at the Disney resorts. You also don't have to pay for parking at the theme parks.
Right.
That's correct.
So it's
double
a great
savings.
cost savings right there. The
Yeah.
buses or any other mode of transportation, like let's just get it, Skyliner is going to have you at Hollywood Studios or Epcot within 10 minutes. They're awesome.
Or you can even walk from the boardwalk or
exactly from certain
two of the
areas.
4 parks. Yeah.
Water taxis that will bring you in the Epcot area to and from the parks. You've got over at Magic Kingdom the monorail that will bring you to the Magic Kingdom and to Epcot. So
or the walking path.
Exactly. There's loads of modes of transportation to have you at that park within a half an hour, which is just unbelievably fast.
And let's face it, at the end of the night, you're exhausted. If you stay for fireworks, maybe you did open to close, it's 12 hours, you're exhausted. And now you've got to try to, like you said, dark out. You're walking to the Magic Kingdom parking lot, trying to find what row, trying to find your car, taking the tram. If they remember, for a while, they didn't even have that. I think it's back now, but
yes, it is.
And then you're on I-4 again. Like, where's my, put it in Waze. I don't know where I'm going. It's pitch dark. I don't know the roads around here. So yeah, it is a little bit of
it's a trek.
Yeah, inconvenience. Let's face it. You're exhausted and you're trying
to
find
adventure.
I'd rather have the adventure in the park than in the car.
Yeah.
And then, let's talk about alcohol. You go to Epcot. Do you really want to be driving? You You want to have a few drinks at Food and Wine, nice to just get on that bus or walk
And
back
let
to
them
Beach
drive you
Club.
back.
Let them drive you
Yeah.
back. We did a stay, a friend of mine and myself in February, and we didn't rent. We just took the Mears shuttle right from the airport right to Saratoga Springs for the week. Had no rental car. We Ubered. We did Lyft around, and we took the bus. And we'd have a couple drinks with dinner. And we just take the bus home. We didn't care about drinking and driving because that wasn't a concern. So it is kind of nice as an adult to let somebody else do the driving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're staying on one of those monorail ones, oh, just
Pub
lovely.
crawl.
Or the Skyliner, just
We did a pub
fabulous.
crawl.
Absolutely
we hit all
fabulous.
three.
Yeah, and that's
It was a
a
lot of
really
fun.
nice way to spend your trip. Roxanne, you had brought up something really interesting, and we do this often as a family as well. I'd be interested to know if Rachel, you do this as well, but we tend to take a midday break, especially in the summer months.
Yeah.
And we'll go back to the hotel and we'll rest in the
Yep.
afternoon by the pool and enjoy the facilities at the hotel. I can't even imagine what it must be like to try and get back to the hotel in the middle of the day if you're waiting for a
Major
shuttle at the
time
back of the
waster.
parking lot.
Yeah.
Whew.
Well, and what if they miss them? Or, it could be at 2:00. It might not be when you want it. You have to wait for the time when the shuttle is supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to
And-
clarify for folks, when we're talking about on-property transportation, we're talking about the resorts. There's over 25 of them that Disney owns and operates.
Mhm.
And these resorts all have dedicated transportation to and from the theme parks, as well as other locations across Walt Disney World. So they'll have dedicated transportation to get to Disney Springs. They'll have, if you're going for a tea time at one of the golf courses, they'll come pick you up. All of these modes of transportation are included with your stay, which is just fabulous. And this will be distributed over different modes of transportation depending on which resorts that you're staying at. So we have some of the resorts that are on the Skyliner, and so some of the theme parks are accessed by the Skyliner, which are Epcot and Hollywood Studios. When we're looking at the Magic Kingdom and Epcot, all the hotels that are around the Magic Kingdom have access to Magic Kingdom, whether it be by Friendship Boat or it be by the monorail. And then most of them also, you can go over to the Ticket and Transportation Center or from your resort itself, take the monorail over to the Ticket and Transportation Center.
Or a walking path.
Walking paths as well. Exactly. Yep. I love staying at the Poly for that. Like my favorite is you can hop on the monorail, and you can also hop onto the monorail dedicated for Epcot from that one transfer point, which is amazing. But then also there's like little water taxis. So like, for example, even if you're staying at Port Orleans Riverside, or you're staying at, Saratoga Springs, those resorts will have a beautiful little Friendship Boat that will bring you down the Sassagoula River down to Disney Springs. So there's always some sort of little Disney touch, to make things just that little bit more exceptional for your stay, and make
the immersion.
Exactly, a little bit easier on you to get to and from where you're trying to get to. So that's
and sometimes
and you don't have to deal with the interstate traffic because they're on dedicated Disney roads.
Right.
Not that other people can't cut through for work, but still.
Well, and they do have the bus lanes. Right. Yeah. So most resorts will have at least one bus line for one of the theme parks. It's very rare that you don't have any of the theme parks that are serviced by a bus, but that bus will be waiting for you at that dedicated bus stop every 15 to 20 minutes, which is just amazing.
It is nice.
All throughout the day. Like it never stops. It just does that circuit the entire day long. So that aspect of it is really, really, really convenient. So for example, we like to stay at Coronado Springs Resort, which is in that moderate category. We kind of call it our deluxe light because we love staying there. It's got such a posh vibe to it.
Good restaurants too.
Yeah, really good restaurants. And so that one will have an internal bus stop for different points of the resort itself to cut down the walking time between going to the main hall and hopping on the bus there. So loads and loads of different possibilities as far as how to get to the parks in a really timely manner.
Right. And I think the whole Disney bubble experience, right? You're staying on the property it's just something nice. Even my husband says he loves that, not having to drive. Like usually we'll rent a car. Not always, but a lot of times we do. And sometimes I don't drive it for 3 or 4 days. It just sits there, and it's like so nice to leave the driving to somebody else and the hassle of, getting lost and kind of having to be the responsible driver all the time, right? And I think the kids really appreciate it too, because they just all of the transportation, whether it's a bus or a Skyliner and all the boat and the monorail, it's kind of like another ride. Like they just love
It
staying in the
is.
bubble, right? Like,
Yeah.
and let's be honest, you're paying for all these park tickets, but a lot of times the kids just want to swim, right? So you're like, why am I buying a 7-day hopper when they just want to go back to the pool? The pool's right there.
Absolutely.
It's so
Yeah.
convenient to go mid-afternoon. And also, when our kids were younger, we always made them do like an hour or two for a nap because they got grumpy, right? So we were able to just go back 1, 2 o'clock, take a nap, swim maybe 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, quick shower or shower in the morning, either or night or morning, and then go out for a good dinner. So it was nice to have another, break at the dinner hour or two to sit and have a good meal. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's very
Yeah.
convenient. It really is to be in the bubble.
Well, listening to all the time that it's, takes to use an off-site or an off-property transportation option, that kind of leads into convenience, like time. Time is money, as you
Yes.
keep saying, as you're paying for park tickets. So, how valuable is your time on your vacation since you're
Yeah.
paying for these tickets?
Yep.
How important is it easy to be able, like you said, return to your room for a nap if you have littles, or you just want to kind of take a break from the heat and go back, enjoy the pool, and then go back at night. It's a lot more convenient with that on-site stay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like, have you guys had people say, "Oh, well, I'll just stay at the Swan and Dolphin on points," because I know a lot of Marriott Bonvoy. And I have done that as well. I've tried it, and
I
I'm
actually like
not
the Swan and the
overly.
Dolphin.
Yeah, but it's not the same. It's not Disney owned, so you can't use your Magic Band. So you're charged for
That's
the
true.
room, right?
Yeah, that's
So that is another thing. I don't know about the Disney gift cards because sometimes I don't know if they'll take them there, right? I don't think they will, right? Because it's not a Disney owned. So you can't use like your discounted Target, buying Target discounted
you can use
gift
them in the
cards.
parks. I mean, that's not
True,
a
but
huge issue.
it's not the same. And I didn't think the balconies were that big. They were much smaller than the Disney balconies, where you could fit like 2 nice sized chairs and really sit on the balcony, have a nice glass of wine, and really enjoy yourself for coffee in the morning. Their balconies could barely like fit a chair. I mean, I just wasn't overly impressed with the Swan and Dolphin. I know the location's decent, but it's still not. It's not the same. It's not the same. So and there was fees. There was a lot of like hidden fees. There was a car parking fee. There was an amenities fee. So you're thinking, oh, I'm getting a good deal or I'm using points. When you start adding those fees, it is going to add up.
Yeah, you definitely have to add those
Just be
into
aware.
your
Yeah.
calculation. And if you are renting that car, I mean, add that also into the comparison. Often I'll get folks who are asking about, oh, is breakfast included? So
That's true.
yeah. So the dining plans are something that you can include with an on-property stay, which I feel is a fabulous, fabulous savings, because it's the average pricing for the restaurants that are across the Walt Disney World property that they're using for that price point. And so whether you have the Disney dining plan where it has a table service credit per person per night stay, a quick service credit per person per night stay, a snack credit per person per night stay, and then that refillable mug that you can use back at the hotel while you're lounging by the pool, or to bring back a drink in the evening to your room, or grab your coffee in the morning. That perk of being able to add that onto your actual vacation package is really great. The other thing is, I always tell folks, like, don't use them for breakfast though, unless you really, really have to, because they're not the best value for that. Because alcoholic beverages for mom and dad are included in the pricing. So much better off using it for a lunch or a dinner credit, and then just paying out of pocket for that breakfast.
For the breakfast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the most you'll pay for a breakfast at Walt Disney World is maybe $13 if you're doing like the full bounty platter with like the eggs and the bacon and the sausage and the waffles and everything else.
Big,
so
yeah.
So at the end of the day, how much is that breakfast really worth to you?
Yeah, that's true.
Not even the kids' meals are cheaper. Even what are they, $7-8? But the other thing is, okay, so here's my other beef with Disney. Like, it doesn't open till 7, right? So I'm an early riser, so I mean, I'm up at 6, and I'm like, I'm ready for my refillable mug and the coffee, and there's no coffee right till 7. So now you're dragging your kids down there,
I
right?
feel like I've had coffee at like 6 in the morning from
I
one
don't
of
know.
those things. I don't know.
Maybe not where I was,
Maybe
but
it's the bougie ones,
but then
the
it's like,
Lexus that are not
oh my
having it.
God.
I
Then
feel
it's
like
like,
I
do you
always
just
have
get it to
coffee.
go? Do you mobile order? So now it's like 7:20 by the time you're bringing it back. Now they're eating. Now it's like 7:45. You're like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. We got to get on the bus. Now you're not getting to the park till 8:30, 9 o'clock. So you're missing maybe the morning extra half hour,
Yeah,
so I don't
magic
know,
hour.
eating the breakfast, if it was free, you are wasting time. So if you have one of these free breakfasts at one of these hotels, right, it's not starting at 6 in the morning, right? So it's 7:30. So you are now going to be at the back of the line because rope drop, people are there 8 o'clock for an 8:30. So you're sitting there eating breakfast. So it is something to think about, strategies
Well,
to get on more rides too.
not
Like
only
you're
that,
wasting time.
off-property resorts won't be able to be there that early.
True. The half
Mhm.
hour, they don't get it. Yeah.
Yeah, so the early entry perk is not available to many of the off-property resorts. There are some that still qualify for it, but Disney, over the course of the last year or so, has really upped their game as far as the perks that are available to on-property sites for
True.
on-property site stayers versus off-property site guests, and with good reason. I mean, if you're staying on
They're
property,
enticing
you
you.
should get the privileges for staying
Yep.
on property.
It's true.
So,
Yep.
other privileges that you're able to access, the 60-day window for making your dining reservations. And let me
That's
tell you,
huge.
if you've got a little girl or a little boy and you are trying to get that bibbidi bobbidi boutique, there's only one location. It's only at Magic Kingdom, and
Mhm.
you need to have that
Yeah.
60-day advantage to be able to do your
Totally.
bookings for it.
Character
You
dining.
know, there. I often tell guests, if you're on like a 2-day, 3-day trip to the Walt Disney World Resort, kind of as a pop in, we're not even going to look at it because it's just not going to be a possibility for those shorter stays. It really just isn't. And then if we're the same thing for the Cinderella's Royal Table, those are the two most sought after reservations at all of Walt Disney World. So, and most people want to pair that bibbidi bobbidi with that Cinderella's Royal Table. So,
Yes.
So let's just explain that a little bit
yeah, for sure.
more for people, that there is a booking advantage when you stay at an on-site property versus an off-site property. Is that what you're talking about? That
Yes.
that like 60-day window for
Mhm.
dining reservations, and what's it,
Yes.
7 days or something for your
Like
lightning lane, your
Correct.
multi-pass.
Exactly.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody understands what that was,
So just to put it into context, the 60-day window that we're talking about is for advanced dining reservations. This means that at the 60-day mark before you check into your Walt Disney World Resort hotel, you can book for the duration of your stay up to 10 days worth of bookings.
Mhm. That's nice.
So any of the restaurants that you're trying to get, you're able to book them at that point in time. Whereas if you're staying off property, you're up at the crack of dawn every morning at 6 a.m. to do your dining bookings every single corresponding day
Oh,
of
every day.
your
One
stay.
day at a time. Okay.
Mhm.
yeah.
Interesting.
Whereas the on-property guests are able to do it for the duration of their stay. And that is also true with the lightning lanes. So 7-day advantage for your lightning lanes, you can book
Mhm.
it for the entirety of your trip. And
That's
the
good.
off-property guests only have them at the 3-day mark before their trips.
3-day. Okay.
And I
A
hate
lot
to
of
tell
things are
you,
gone
folks,
by then. It's gone.
I hate to tell you they've been selling out
Yeah.
Mhm.
You can't
by
get
the
it.
time you get to that 3rd day. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
and I
any
feel
kind of
bad for
virtual
folks.
queue when they
Yeah,
had them, remember,
exactly.
those would be gone at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
to people staying on property. You could only get the 1 o'clock when you were in the park, if you could even get that. So whenever, I know there's no virtual queues now, but when they have, in Guardians, if
Mhm.
you weren't on property, you were not getting on Guardians. It was really unfortunate for some people.
And if you're going during those busy times of the year, that's not
Yeah.
enough. You're gonna
No,
you're gonna be either doing your quick service, stand in line because you can't get a
you
reservation.
can't get anything. Yeah, it's gone. Now, Sandy, what about at night? Are they going to have? Do they have for on property people like extra hour at night or something?
Yeah, you do. So if you're staying at one of the deluxe resorts,
You
and this
do.
is
Okay.
uniquely for deluxe resort guests, you're able to actually stay an
Mm.
extra 2 hours certain days
Oh,
of the week at
wow.
different parks. So they
Okay.
they kind of like it's not always consistent with which parks it is, but we've seen it occasionally at Hollywood Studios. That's like the least amount of times that they'll stay open late is for Hollywood Studios. It's usually on Wednesday nights for the Magic Kingdom that they'll stay open an extra 2 hours after the park closes, uniquely for the deluxe guests.
Oh, nice.
And then on Monday nights, consistently for Epcot,
you can do a lot
they
in 2
stay
hours.
open. You can
Yeah.
do
You
a
can.
lot in 2 hours. And from experience, folks, because we normally stay deluxe, it really is just a walk on. So you walk up, you scan into the ride. You have to prove that you're a deluxe guest.
Yeah.
And they scan your Magic Band or your key card, and then you can walk onto the ride, and there's no wait for them. It's really, really fabulous. It's a huge perk.
And that transportation is running too. To a
Yeah.
Disney resort where if you were staying off property, your
That's
shuttle,
it, exactly.
your shuttles don't.
But you couldn't even stay in the park for the extended hours.
You can't stay.
That's
Yeah,
it.
you have to leave.
The only ones that are privy to that advantage at this moment in time are the Swan and the Dolphin. They also
Oh, they
qualify
are.
for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So those are the only off property. I don't really consider them off property because they're right smack dab in the middle of the Magic, which is great for folks who are Marriott points holders and things like
Right.
that.
But it's not Disney owned. Yeah.
Yeah, the extra magic hours and the early morning hour. It's
exactly.
great.
The early entry for half an hour every morning
Mhm.
at all of the theme parks is a huge advantage. You can knock off 2 rides easily in the
easy.
morning doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least
No,
even
it's
like Seven
fabulous.
Dwarfs. I've seen people, you know, you get the extra half hour and you're lining up, and I make a beeline right to Seven Dwarfs, and it's already like a 45-minute wait. And can you imagine if you weren't staying and I was on property? It might be 2 hours by the time you can get in at 9, you know, because people have been there since 8:30.
Did you ladies know that water parks are free this year for people who are staying on property for your arrival day?
I heard that for the arrival day.
Yep.
I think some questions,
And
since
maybe-
both parks are open, can you
It depends on
go
time of year.
between both?
Okay.
It depends on time of year.
But-
And we're kind of entering into the season, but normally there'll be an assignment within your My Disney experience at the top of the page in your future plans that will tell you which park is available that day for you.
Right. But
And
I think there are go ahead, Roxanne.
2026, I heard they're going to keep doing that. It's the rumor for your bookings.
That would be nice. I think a lot of people have been taking advantage of that because then they can come in early on a flight or, you know, drive in early. They don't have to spend a ticket in the park. And they could just
And if your room's not ready till 4, right, they'll hold your
Yeah,
luggage and get that bathing suit on and go over there right away. Yeah.
Did you guys hear what the really, 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 really cool perk is for 2026?
What?
No. What was that?
Children ages 3 to 9 eat free if mom or dad, the equivalent adult in the room, has a dining plan.
Oh, wow. That will be a very nice perk.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's an awesome perk.
That is.
That is much better than a free breakfast at a local chain hotel. Soggy waffle.
I love Waffle House and I love IHOP. I love all these restaurants.
Who doesn't?
There's nothing wrong with them. But yeah, when you're staying at Walt Disney World, you kind of want to be in that bubble for as much of the time as you can. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I think the other thing that you both touched on is you know, the theming and staying at a Disney on-site property is way over the top themed for your rooms, right? And for your properties, like just the resort itself. And you just really can't get that at an off-site property.
And that's not to say that you're going to be hit over the head 100% of the time with Disney. Very much so at the value resorts. And you have a lot of families who love staying at the value resorts. You have a lot of, you know, older families that love staying at the value resorts. For example, my family in particular, we love staying at Art of Animation in the family suites because each one of the kids gets their own bed and we get a separate room to ourselves.
Yeah, it's
and
really
so
cute.
We're able to spread out. We're on that Skyliner. We're able to go back and forth to the parks. It's not luxurious, but it's really whimsical and fun.
Yeah. The food courts are good too. You can just tons of variety, tons, and they're open at 11 to 12 at night or something.
And you can hop on to the Skyliner if you have a rest day and head off to the Riviera to go to like their quick service restaurant there. You can head over to the boardwalk by going to the back entrance of Epcot and go over to the Cake Bake Shop. You know, like there's tons and tons of restaurants that you can explore just being able to do that. And the boardwalk in the evenings is gorgeous. Like it's so pretty.
It is.
So,
it is.
you know, it's
you can just
really
take a
fun.
stroll around there. It's definitely relaxing and
Exactly.
very, very enjoyable.
So, you know, even though you're at this heavily themed resort, you're still able to get that downtime as well for exploring and going to check out other things. I kind of have the two schools with my clients. So my guests, I have those folks who are doing their first trip to the Walt Disney World Resort and really want to be immersed in that theming. Now, that's not to say you can't find that at the moderate resorts as well. If you look over at Port Orleans Riverside at those princess, those royal themed rooms, they're gorgeous. So pretty. And that resort in and of itself is so relaxed. It's got its own fishing hole for catch and release fishing, which is like the cutest thing ever. And the moderate resorts have water slides on property. So really, really fun as far as like a location as well. So there really is something for everyone at all of the Disney resorts. Like truly is. And then the other kind of like train of thought is that for families with littles, a lot of them enjoy staying closer to the magic. So staying as close as possible to the Magic Kingdom, because they're probably going to do, 2 days of their trip at the Magic Kingdom and maybe touch on the other parks once. But what's really great for parents in the evening is that the deluxe resorts have balconies. And so at the end of the night, when your kiddos have to be in bed at like, let's say 7 p.m. and you've still got another 3 hours before you want to go to bed, it is such a nice thing to have a relaxed evening with your spouse, sitting on the balcony, chatting about your day, talking about the reactions from the kids to the different characters and everything else over a glass of wine, right? Like, it's just amazing. Either you can send the spouse down to go and grab some drinks at the lounge that'll be in one of those deluxe resorts, or all of them have kind of little general stores in the gift shops where you can pick up bottles of wine and things like that as well.
It's true. My kids always got a kick out of like having the magic band on the whole week and like going to the room door and opening the door, right? And then charging things, but charging even now that they're older, like what's the 4-digit code? Like they're not carrying cash at all. Obviously, everything goes to the magic band. You're not doing that off property. So there's just some nice things like when you're immersed, you've got the magic band, it's all on one bill. You can kind of look at it.
Exactly. And with older kids now too.
To pay.
Right? With older kids now too, it's great because they're of the age where they can go to the parks by themselves now, and they're able to use the meal plans, get on the buses, get on the modes of transportation by themselves. So mom and dad get to have a little bit of downtime, maybe because you want to go out for a dessert party in the evening, or you want to go out to Victoria and Albert's, but the kids want to head off to the parks. So there's tons and tons of things that you can do there to kind of like make that family vacation.
Especially with teenagers.
Highlights. Yeah, exactly.
And
you don't have to worry because they've got their meal credits. They can charge them.
And they how safe it is in the bubble, and they just take the bus back. And I always try to keep 2 of them together, but like our son's 21 and when we went last year, he was 20 and he was out till like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, well, I'm getting up at 7 or whatever and trying to get there for 8 or whatever. But
sounds like my kids on the cruises.
He was just like, I'm not going to miss the extra night hours or whatever. I want to get on as many rides and get back on the bus. So he's safe. And sometimes our daughter would go with him, or sometimes he would go alone. It depends if they wanted to go back to the room or not. But it's just really nice to be able to split up a little bit when you have older kids, because they can just kind of do what they want with the hopper, if they had an annual pass or a park hopper. Really nice.
Or if you're traveling with multi-gens, right? Because a lot of younger families will be traveling with the grandparents as well. We've done that on multiple occasions. And for example, like my in-laws know where things are at Walt Disney World. My parents know where things are at Walt Disney World. My sister, my brother's families, they all know where things are. And so for all those different life cycles, when you're traveling with those larger groups, those larger family parties, then people are able to go back to the resort at their own rhythm. Because, for example, my sister's kids are much younger than my kids are. And while it's really fun to watch them holding hands, walking through the parks with my kids, and my kids able to show them everything, it's still really nice for my sister to be able to take them back to the room in the middle of the day for a nap, and we can continue on and do whatever we would like to do at the resort itself. Or for example, my in-laws, often when we go to the parks, they'll do the morning period until it gets hot, and then they'll go back to the resort and spend the rest of the evening there and come on back and meet up with us for dinner. So it's very, very convenient for being able to have that multi-generational trip, be able to go back and forth quite easily to the hotels.
And I think you just got to look at your budget and talk to a travel agent that can apply the discounts, look for the promotions, and tell you when a promotion's coming up, because there are discounts, there are deals, right? So you got to work with a travel agent that can get you those deals.
Did I tell you guys we're able to apply them retroactively to our existing guest reservations?
No, you didn't.
Nice.
Okay, that's a really cool perk.
Yep. So when you're
Good.
working with a travel agent that's specialized in Disney destinations, they are actually able to retroactively apply a discount if it comes out and your room qualifies for it,
Nice.
as far as like, date range, the type
Mhm.
of tickets that
Yeah.
you have on your stay and stuff. I got to tell you, when those discounts come out, I am up at the crack of dawn. We are applying the discounts to our guest reservations. I normally post something on Facebook saying, hey, I'm on it. I know. Like, I'll send out emails tomorrow. I'm just running through my list of people who qualify for this date range. And like, it's thousands, like tens of thousands of dollars cumulatively that I am able to save for guests on those days when those offers and promos come out. Like,
Yeah.
it's just mind-boggling. And the 40, 50, $60,000 worth of discounts that we're able to apply to the guest reservations, and for that time range, like, that's a huge savings for people. Like, it's anywhere between like a couple of $100 to sometimes I get $1,500, $2,000 that are off on people's vacations, depending on how that particular offer applies.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's important to look for those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I will play devil's advocate here. I would say the only maybe reason for me personally, if I were going to say I'm going to stay off property, would be if I had a lot of points to use up. Like if
Loyalty
if I
points,
had,
like,
yeah, if I had like
yeah.
Hyatt points or Hilton,
Mhm.
because there's a ton of Hiltons down in Orlando. There's a bunch of Marriotts, right? That's different. You're getting it for free. Like free, you can't argue with free, right? But if you're saying I'm paying with a credit card or whatever,
Right.
then I'm going to stay on property. But if you're saying it's free,
Yeah.
well, then I can see why people, or, you're staying with your aunt who's 30 minutes down the road. Yeah, it's not convenient, but if they're saying, hey, it's free, like that's a different
Right.
story. But, maybe try
Completely.
that.
Like, I totally get it.
Different
And
story. Yeah.
yeah, and we help people with their tickets all the time, and we'll give them
Ticket
planning
only.
tips and tricks. Yeah, no.
But I think you just
Completely.
got to look at your budget. If you can stretch it, do the value, do the moderate. Not everyone can do deluxe. That's okay. Start with the value, and then move up a category down the road. When the salaries maybe go up higher. Because I know when
Yeah,
we first
exactly.
started, we didn't have the money to stay deluxe. That would have been a huge stretch for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Paying
And
daycare and all the things, mortgages.
and you guys know that a travel advisor that specializes in Disney, our services are free.
Yes.
Like,
A lot
Disney
of people
takes
don't
care
know
of us
that.
once our folks have traveled. So, there's
Mhm.
absolutely no difference in the pricing between doing your vacation through Disney on their
Mhm.
website and what
Mhm.
we offer as pricing, because all of our bookings are done directly in their backend system. So, why not?
Yeah.
You get all our planning tips and tricks and touring plans and help with your dining and help with your lightning lanes and all that fun stuff, so that it makes it as stress-free as possible.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's huge.
Definitely a reason. Definitely a reason to use a Disney destination travel agent.
Mhm.
So I know you can probably tell that we are biased to staying on property
Slightly.
after this
Sorry,
this
folks.
episode, but
What can we
we've
say?
come to that. I think it was after once you stay on site, it's kind of hard to go back.
It is,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
so, but
Mhm.
And there's a
at
It
least
lot,
you
really
there's
have
is.
a
a lot
lot
to
of
be
things to
said.
consider. I mean, these are
Exactly.
the areas that you should probably think about
Mhm.
when you're planning your trip, to see what is the best choice for you, because there
Yeah.
is definitely a lot of choices, as you can tell.
Cost it out, get your pricing, and look at your options. Ask your
Mhm.
travel agent, run it 3 or 4 different hotels, give me some options, and then I'll talk to whoever I'm traveling with and figure out what we can afford. I think that's the big thing. Look at your budget.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies, thank you again for another fabulous discussion on the hot topic of off-site versus on-site, staying at a
Mhm.
Disney World
Yeah.
vacation, a Disney World resort for your vacation. So until next time, leave us a comment below on
Yeah, let
topics you
us
would
know. Topics,
like
yep.
us to explore. We're always open to going
Definitely.
down another area that we always look for the recommendations here. So,
Mhm.
Happy to do it.
all right. Well, you all have a magical evening, and we'll see you
Till
next
next
time.
time.
Catch you later.
Bye.